Hello guys, welcome back to another Dazod 500 video. In this video, we're going to be going over the place of birth of every single Canadian Prime Minister in history. There are 4 that were not born in Canada. So, of the 23, only 19 of them were actually born in Canada. So, I guess we'll start off with the 4 that, weren't born in Canada. That does include not only the first Prime Minister, but also the second. The first one being John A. Macdonald. He was born in Glasgow, which is a city in Scotland. Of course, if you know anything about soccer, the 2 big soccer teams in Scotland are both from Glasgow, which is weird because Glasgow is not the capital of Scotland. Also in Scotland was the place of birth of John A. Macdonald's successor, Alexander Mackenzie. He was born not in Glasgow, but in Loiserite, I think. Loiserite, I guess that's how you say it. I haven't been to Scotland, but I'm saying that it's Loiserite, and I'm not even too sure if that's how you spell it or not. There should be a picture on screen. Our 5th Prime Minister, Mackenzie Bowell, he was born in England. This time it's Rickinghall, England. And then I have to turn the page because there's 23. It wasn't enough to put on one side of the page. John Turner was the other one. He was born in Richmond, England, which I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think is a region of London, but I can't be certain. Of course, now we move on to the prime ministers that were actually born in Canada. We start off with the 3rd one, John Abbott, who was born in St. Andrews. It has another name now. He was born in what at the time was called St. Andrews, Quebec. Or, when he was born, it was Lower Canada, but, now it's Quebec. I have no clue what it's called now, but I know it's changed. John Thompson, he actually was pretty young. I think he died at 49, and that sucks. John Sparrow David Thompson was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax gave birth to 2 or 3 prime ministers, actually. So, it isn't a one-off occurrence for Mr. Thompson. Next, we move on to Charles Tupper, who was born in Nova Scotia, not in Halifax. He was born in Amherst, which I think is a somewhat major city in Nova Scotia. Of course, the biggest one is Halifax, obviously, but I think Amherst might be number 2 or 3. Anyone from Nova Scotia can correct me on that, please, because I have no clue. Wilfrid Laurier he was actually the first prime minister that was able to speak French fluently. He was born, of course, in Quebec, in Saint-Lin, Quebec. So, there you go for Laurier. The wind is flipping over my paper here. Robert Borden, he was also born in Nova Scotia, but not in Halifax or Amherst. We got a different one. Oh, my paper is trying to fly away. Borden was born in Grand Pre. I'm really shocked that that isn't in Quebec because, Grand Pre with the accent aigu E. So, yeah. Yeah, Borden was born there. It must be on, the border, the Quebec-Nova Scotia border. It's got to be somewhere there for it to be called Grand Pre and be in Nova Scotia. Arthur Meehan was born in Anderson. I'm pretty sure the name's changed for that one as well. Anderson, Ontario. I have no clue what it's called now again, but I'm pretty sure it's changed. When William Lyon Mackenzie King was born, he was born in a different city. It was different when he was born, but I didn't write it down. I wrote what the modern name of the city is, and that's Thunder Bay. Or not Thunder Bay, right? No, not Thunder Bay. It's Kitchener. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Kitchener. He was born in Kitchener, and yeah, he was born in Kitchener. If I put down what it was called at the time, you guys would have no clue that he was born so close or in such a pretty major city. Lake Kitchener. Maybe not major, but, you know, it's there. R.B. Bennett. Yes, R.B. Bennett was the first prime minister to be born, actually the only, to be born in New Brunswick, and actually is also the only prime minister, first and only, to be born, or not to be born, but to be buried, I can't speak today, to be buried in England. And he was buried in, I believe, Mickleham, England. So, there you go. R.B. Bennett was born in Hopewell in New Brunswick. Louis Saint Laurent, of course, that is a pretty Quebecois name, and he's, of course, from Quebec. He was born and buried in Compton, which is about, you know, an hour 45 minutes away from Montreal. John Diefenbaker, he was born in the most German-sounding name ever, Neustadt. Sounds like a German name, Neustadt. He was born in Neustadt, Ontario. His successor, and many people like to call Lester B. Pearson the best prime minister in Canadian history. The best prime minister in Canadian history. That is up for debate. I don't know what you guys would say about that, but I'll leave that for a different video. He was born in Newtonbrook, which nowadays is part of Toronto, which is where I live, in Ontario. Pierre Elliott Trudeau was born in Montreal, Quebec, which honestly doesn't surprise me. Trudeau is, of course, you know, once you learn how to spell it, took me 12 years to learn, or 11 years to learn how to spell Trudeau. That's a really French last name. Joe Clark. He was born in High River, Alberta. He's one of two, or I guess maybe British Columbia is not in the plains. You know, like those plain states. So if British Columbia is not in there, then he's the only one from Alberta, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba. He was born, of course, in High River, as I said. Brian Mulroney, what did catch me off guard was the fact that he was born in Quebec, because, you know, Mulroney doesn't sound like a Quebecois last name. He was born in Baie-Compeau, or Compeau, Quebec. And then this is what I'm talking about, British Columbia. We have Kim Campbell, who was born in I can't read my own writing. I think that says Port Alberni in British Columbia. She's also the only prime minister to be born in British Columbia. I know, like, some don't really want to count her because of how little she served and how little impact she had on the nation. You know, Canada's first and only prime minister from female didn't turn out all that great. Next we have Jean Chrétien, who, of course, that is one of the most Quebecois last names ever. He was born in Shawinigan, Quebec, which is actually really shocking to me. Shawinigan, Quebec is where Jean Chrétien was born. Then we had his successor, Paul Martin. He was actually born, I think, like 4 hours away from where I live, or like 5 hours away from where I live. It's a busy street over here, so I gotta make sure I'm safe. He was born in Windsor, in Ontario. I have a friend whose sister, he is way older than me and my friend. She's in, I think, college or university in Windsor. So maybe I can go down with him one time to go see Paul Martin's birthplace. I don't know if they'll have like it's a really busy street, like a museum of Paul Martin's birth or something. Holy Jesus, a lot of cars. Stephen Harper, our second most recent Canadian Prime Minister, was born in the city where I live. He was born in Toronto. I looked at the map on the Wikipedia page, and it shows the map of everywhere and of every place where all the prime ministers were born. And Harper's actually the closest to where I live. So, there you go. But Pearson is also pretty close. So, you know, we'll see. And then lastly, of course, the current prime minister that not a whole lot of people like right now, Justin Trudeau. He was born in Ottawa, which, you know, there you go. He was born in 1971. which I believe is when his dad was serving as Prime Minister. I have to look up the times again because I forgot, but I'm pretty sure that's, or, yeah, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, or about to be Prime Minister as when Trudeau was born. So, yeah, that's all 23 Prime Ministers of Canada, where they were born, not necessarily when, but where they were born at least. If you guys liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.